The laundry is done. The groceries are here. I have 40 pages left in my book.
Everybody's book experience is completely different, right? You could be reading the same book and have a completely different experience, and that for me is the most important thing.
밥사과를 들고 돌아온 지 노동미 최초의 남편일 거예요. 몇 번쯤 말인가.
It's so sweet. My favorite pineapple cakes from Taiwan that I recently got. And
You apparently ward off evil spirits at home. Good morning, guys. It is now 8:54. So a little bit of a late start to this morning. Because I just came back from Taiwan, I have a lot of laundry that I need to do. Then for lunch, I'm gonna go meet up with some of my friends at close to where they work, which is also where my husband works. So I'm going to probably eat there, then find a coffee shop, work, then come home with him. So I finished with the laundry. We're taking it down, and then I'm waiting for the washer to finish the cycle. I'm gonna order some groceries, and I think instead of working, I'm gonna read. So I'm gonna order groceries. I'm so tired today. I have a headache, and I am exhausted, and I don't really understand why, and I feel like I'm having a hard time catching my breath, so I don't know if that means I'm having a little bit of an asthma episode right now. So I think I'm gonna try and not overexert myself this morning. So yeah, I'm gonna order groceries. So it's 10:11 now. The laundry is done. The groceries are here. I have 40 pages left in my book. But I need to leave at 11:20-ish, so I'm gonna try and get all this done as soon as possible so I can finish reading my book before leaving. So I think the total for this bag of groceries is 57 RMB, so a little bit less than $10. What I have is leafy greens, bean sprouts, beef slices, bitter melon, I truly don't know what these are called in English. Can you see this? Yeah. But these vegetables: ginger, green bell pepper, zucchini, garlic, and then a head of cabbage. So this is 57 RMB, so not bad. So it is around 10:51, and I finished the book. I think it is a remarkable piece of Taiwanese literature, like Taiwan literature. I enjoyed a lot of the beginning and the middle. I think the end, it could have been more impressive. It could have been much more of a burn if there were maybe 100 pages more. But in terms of a book, I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. I would rate it very, very highly. And also, it was such a pleasant reading experience. The writing was very interesting. I don't know if I really like magical realism. For me, sometimes I think I have a very literal mind, and I think sometimes it's really hard for me to grasp the magical elements of certain books. I know I had a really hard time reading 100 Years of Solitude because of that. But somehow, when it was magical realism in this context, in my cultural context, it was a lot easier for me to understand. And I do remember when I was reading 100 Years of Solitude, and I told one of my friends who recommended the book that I didn't understand the magical realism of it. And she was just like, well, that is truly just the way our minds think. We exaggerate certain phenomena. And in this book, I realize that now, because that's exactly how, Taiwanese people think. We just exaggerate certain phenomena and we give it a supernatural context. And that I loved it. I enjoyed it because I understand it completely. I wish it gave just a little bit more background in terms of the whole political landscape at that time. But it is such an incredible book.
So it is now 4:37. I didn't work that much today, but I'm not actually upset because I finished writing the book reviews for my last 3 books. I typed out my reviews on my computer. Now I want to transcribe it into my journal. So I stopped doing this for a little bit because I didn't feel like I was actually reading or revisiting my reviews. But then one day I randomly picked it up and I started reading, and I realized that it brings me back. Because everybody's book experience is completely different, right? You could be reading the same book and have a completely different experience. And that for me is the most important thing, which is how I interact with a book. So I started doing that. So I started doing it again. Well, I started trying to do it again. Some books, if I'm not interacting well with it, I kind of just let it go too. But for my last 3 books, I've been feeling so much for each one of them that I really wanted to do this. So I'm happy that I did finish all 3. So now I'm just gonna write it down. I finished transcribing one of the reviews. My hands are very, very sore. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and prep some of this stuff for dinner. Oh, also, later tonight I need to do this ritual because I was at my grandma's funeral. And so in funerals in Taiwan, it's not, how do I put this? You don't have a hall to yourself. You're placed in this like massive hall with other people, and you have pictures of different people. Being the curious person that I am, was looking around, and you're not actually supposed to look around. But I saw this in one of the pictures. It was a very young lady, and that completely broke my heart. And I was just looking a little bit longer than I should have. And then I went home and I talked to my mom about this because she wasn't there, and she said, "Yeah, it's really bad to look at the eyes of anybody else's pictures." And I said, "Oh, okay." So she told me that I have to do this ritual, which is basically you put salt and rice, 7 grains of rice and 7 dashes of salt into hot water. And then I'm not really sure exactly what I need to do. So I'm gonna search that up later too, and then I'll probably do it tonight. So that's to just ward off any kind of bad spirits. Which this also ties into what I was saying about magical realism. Like, this is just, we don't see this as something strange or bizarre. It just is. this is just something that if you feel like you or potentially might have been taken on by supernatural forces, this is what you do. So I think there's that underlying belief in supernatural forces in general. So yeah. I should probably explain what I'm making for dinner. It's going to be a guizhou hot pot. So I'm going to put in bean sprouts, cabbage, potatoes, beef slices, and zucchini. You're gonna just throw it into water with some chicken bouillon cubes and let me see if I have this sauce. I have more of this, but this is I think mountain peppercorn oil, mountain pepper oil. And then it doesn't taste like much, but then you're gonna dip it into, okay, Lottie's getting back. And then you can dip it into this guizhou sauce. That is very good, that I really like.
워낙 좀 비틀려 있어가지고 다행히 환기가 막 됐습니다.
어쩔 뻔했어. 비행기 놓쳤으면 어쩔 뻔했어. 먹고 싶더라. 먹고 싶더라.
어머니가 다 살리셨어요.
아니에요. 금명이가 다 살린 거예요.
어머니가 건강하셔야 또 금명씨 지키시죠.
주인지 사위이신가?
나도 잘못했지.
But what do you think?
진짜 착한 어린이 같아.
Because his parents take care of everything for him. So it's around 8:25, so 8:30ish. We finished eating and then watching episode 12 of When Life Gives You Tangerines, and then I showered. I'm so upset with what was unfolding in the story, so I'm gonna have a snack. I'm gonna have a little bit of a dessert. This is my favorite pineapple cakes from Taiwan that I recently got. Looks like this. This is the packaging. It's very yummy. There you go. I'm gonna call my mom and talk to her for a little bit because they're still in Taiwan. I just want to make sure that they're okay. And then I'm gonna get started. And my next book, which I've already chosen, is going to be The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. Very excited to start it. Ooh, also, I finished transcribing all my book reviews from my typing. So from me typing it out to paper. So that was good. I did a lot of stuff today. I think later tonight I want to kind of just lay out my plan for this week, including my work. And then when I want to edit stuff, film stuff, and get the channel going. But yeah.
你今天你如果不是特别那个，你就低调一点。他又不是每次在那种场合里面，他就要再跟这跟这个跟那个这样，好像表现他人面很广。那我觉得说你这样子，你应该是心知肚明嘛，你应该是讲具体，因为你们大概也用不到，所以我现在来讲，反正我在我的认知里面，银行是讲就强的啦。其实我真的没办法理解有些人哈、太太在用钱，先生会管的。我都觉得说家庭主妇已经蛮辛苦了，然后你就买个气炸锅，现在就不肯让他买，那我们都觉得气炸锅很好。
气炸锅不是那种厨房标配吗？
对啊，可是他们有些就先生不让他们。
So I finished talking to my mom, my parents, and she reminded me that I needed to do the salt rice water ritual. So in here I have, you can't see because I only added just a little bit of water, but I have a mixture of hot water and just regular room temperature water. I'm gonna grab a handful of rice. Okay. So grab a handful of rice and throw 7 dashes of rice in. Salt onto your palms. And then also 7 dashes. So then you're just supposed to mix it. I think I'm just supposed to That's how you apparently ward off evil spirits at home. It's now 9:49 and I can start my new book. It's now 10, 11, and we're gonna go to bed. I feel like I had a pretty productive day, but I am gonna push off planning my week until tomorrow because I'm very tired and I just want to go to bed. I might read a little bit more in bed. It is interesting. I feel like it's another book about a family, and the genre is also magical realism. And because I really did enjoy Ghost Town, I am really happy that this is what it is because I wanted to read another book like that. So I might read a little bit more before I go to bed, like before I fall asleep, but I'm going to bed now. Good night.